there we are. Welcome into the 305, guys. It's morning. We can't be expected to be on our game. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick in the 5 Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. I'm creeped out because I went to the barbershop today. Not for this. There's nothing here, but for this.
You
and
did?
When I did. I did. Believe it or not. No, it was cleaned up. It was clean. It's cleaned up for media day. I just, I don't feel like buying razors. So, it's rather just spend the 20 bucks, 15 plus the tip. But I'm sitting in a chair and it's in Cooper City. And they have a lot of sports memorabilia on the walls. And I'm literally in the chair. And who's looking down at me? Hassan Whiteside.
Oh, man.
Yes. Big, like one of those wall posters, that you what were those things called?
Fatheads?
Yes. It's a Hassan Whiteside fathead. And it says Jesus right under it. And so, yeah, that's what was looking at me while I was getting this done. And I don't know. I should have blocked the barber, I guess. Should have done it with blocks.
Nobody does it with blocks.
Right. I should have done it with blocks. I mean, he did it with the razor. Anyway, Prize Picks. Use the code 5, FIVE. We're going to talk Dolphins today, but I'm just shaking up because I wasn't expecting to see Hassan this early in the morning. Use the code 5, and when you do that, they'll give you $50 in lineups. Of course, Thursday night game coming up tonight. Was it Arizona, Seattle? Is that right? Is that tonight?
Yeah, Arizona, Seattle.
Okay, Arizona, Seattle tonight. A couple of plays on there actually that I liked. I like McBride and a couple of others. Have we given up, by the way, on Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is that over? Is he no longer? He's no longer a phenom.
I guess not. I don't think I've had too much success with him on Prize Picks, so I throw in the towel.
Yes, I don't think that's working out very well. Anyway, use the code 5 FIVE. Put down your 5, get your 50 in lineups. Is legal in the state of Florida. I heard something like Prize Picks sold for like $4 billion. There's a lot of people playing. So You get on there, you give it a shot, use the code 5, get your $50. Maybe you'll win $4 billion. Or maybe not. Well, hopefully. Anyway, we're going to talk Dolphins here today. And you sent this to me, and it just when it feels like the end, this is what happens. So everything that was good before is no longer. And in particular, in this case, Mike McDaniel was credited for essentially saving Tua's career. At least from a performance standpoint. The physical stuff he can't control, but from a performance standpoint, that he got Tua back on track after Brian Flores, who never wanted him, kind of ruined him, right?
Brian Flores essentially tried to sabotage him, and then McDaniel came in and did the opposite, like propped him up instead of sabotaging.
And there were a whole bunch of nice feature stories that were written about that and their connection. But now stuff is starting to leak out. And I said this a week ago, when a team starts to lose, and the Dolphins, we have a lot of experience with this, with the Dolphins, then especially in an NFL organization where there are so many people, it's not like an NBA organization where there's up to 15 players and it's a smaller staff. NFL, there's dozens and dozens, coaches, staffers, equipment people, there's a lot of folks, right? Plus the 53 on the roster, plus the practice squad. And people start to leak.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Everybody starts looking out for their own. They have a pet reporter maybe, and they go from telling the reporter, hey, just use this on background, but don't, this is on background, but don't use it. And then it becomes, okay, you can use this on background, but don't use my name. I've been on this side of it. And so that's what's happening here. And now you're starting to hear these reports coming out that Mike McDaniel essentially has been limited by Tua and that he can't get to certain parts of the playbook that he might want to get to. And that's why we're essentially seeing the Dolphins operate in a shoebox. I mean, it's literally, it's a shoe, and it's not even a shoebox that's extended that way. It's a shoebox that's extended this way. Okay. And they're like size 3 shoes. Like that's where we're at right now. Okay. My daughter has bigger shoeboxes than this. That's where we're at. And I think that we're starting to see again, I don't want to say the rats are fleeing the ship or any of that kind of stuff, but I don't know. When the chatter starts, the firings follow. That tends to be what happens, or the cuts.
Yeah. So what I've seen over the last couple of days here is that a couple of notable NFL insiders, and there might be more than just these two. These are the two that I've noticed. Tom Pelissero and James Palmer And, I don't know exactly who their sources are on this. Like you mentioned, it could be coming from literally any of more than 100 people within the Dolphins organization. But I do feel like it's coming from somewhere. Like they're not just saying this stuff to say it. And it's interesting how their narratives are both eerily similar. So I feel like they're probably getting this from the same source. Pelissero, for example, says there is not enough talk about with the hoops that Mike McDaniel has to jump through on a week in and week out basis to design a game plan for a quarterback who can't get hit. He says, you can't have him holding the ball. You can't run design runs. You can't really run quarterback sneaks. Tom Brady ran a pass route in the Super Bowl. It didn't end well, but they put that in their game plan. You can't do that with Tua, he says. You can't run a naked bootleg. You're not going to run zone read to keep people honest. All of those things combined make it really hard to produce on a week in and week out basis. So first thing, like Ethan, without knowing exactly who this is coming from, if it's somebody associated with Mike McDaniel would be my hunch, but I don't know that for sure. I do find this reporting to be very significant because for the past 4 years, Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa have been joined at the hip.
Right.
They've essentially been holding hands, singing Kumbaya.
Right.
And now that we're hearing this narrative where somebody is trying to blame Tua's limitations for why McDaniel is not succeeding with the Dolphins, tells me, whether this is created by outside forces or not, because I can't say with any certainty that Mike McDaniel feels this way, but somebody is saying this to prop him up and knock Tua down, which I find to be significant because the two of them have always been joined at the hip.
I'm with you, and that's exactly where we're at. Is that you start to again see the relationships that seem to be the strongest, that there's blame assessed to one or the other. And look, this has happened on not just between quarterback and coach, and we saw some of this going way back, showing my age here, with Dave Wannstedt. Dave was tied to the hip with Jay Fiedler, and that was the whole thing. Like he gave Jay the starting job after Marino left the scene. He gave Jay the starting job, even though it was against Damon Huard, who was Marino's guy, and that always made things uncomfortable for Fiedler going forward. But he gave the job to Fiedler, even though Fiedler threw 3 interceptions and a half in a preseason game, and everyone was like, "Well, what are you doing?" And he was tied to him forever after that, even when Rick Spielman went out and got A.J. Feely, because A.J. Feely had gone 4-1 under Andy Reid, which I think anybody could pretty much do, in Philadelphia. And he brought in Feely, and Feely kept falling on his ass and getting hurt, literally. Okay.
Yeah.
Had a lot of posterior injuries. And never got off the ground. And people like Zach and Jason would go to Wannstedt and say, put Fiedler back in there. We trust his toughness. We trust him as a leader here, even though he has limitations. But Dave was tied to Jay, but at the end, Jay was thrown under the bus too. I was there for all of that. And again, this is what happens. People start worrying about their own jobs. I mean, it's the same thing like at 5 Reasons. Like, if our YouTube channel goes from 28,000 subscribers to 10, I'll be like, look, Donno. Like, I mean, dude,
and then I'll have my agent leak something. It's
right.
Ethan,
right? Like, we couldn't set a time. Damn it! I mean, if we could have gone at 105 all the time, and so this is what happens. People are in self-preservation mode. It's not just in sports. It happens in government. It happens in businesses. It happens everywhere. And this, again, to me, signals the end, because the problem here, Alex, is. So what's next? I mean, you're going to eat this. I mean, you're going to keep McDaniel, which means you're keeping Greer. You're going to then submarine Tua, and then what? There's no quarterback here ready to step in. Like if you had drafted someone to actually compete with him, okay, or you had a young veteran on the roster who has potential, unlike Zach Wilson. If that had been the case, then okay, you could say, well, all right, let's give McDaniel a year to see if a quarterback with a bigger arm and more mobility, that he can make something work, because he did make it work with Tua for a period of time. But you don't have that person. So what do you do now? So you're going to say, okay, we're going to draft someone. all right, this is not a great quarterback draft necessarily. It looks like they're
Yeah.
Nussmeier. I don't know what's going to happen with Archie Manning. You're not going to be
I think I think Arch is going to stay in school for another
right,
year. It's not like he
right.
needs the money.
And your guy, Donno. Honestly,
Yeah, he didn't look that great against Florida.
I'm not a huge fan. I think
Hey.
I think he's got a chance to be a decent pro, but I don't. He done. Cam jumped off the screen.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, this guy
he's
is.
ridiculous.
Yeah, this guy
Yeah, I
is a
mean,
guy. So
Drew Aller from Penn State, Lenoris Sellers, who is okay. I'm not wowed by him.
yeah.
But and just to be like you brought up, I guess the nightmare scenario would be that this is coming from the Dolphins organization to justify keeping Mike McDaniel employed. Now, whether that's at the expense of Tua or not, my thing is, Ethan, and I feel pretty strongly about this, and I feel that in now year 6 of Tua Tagovailoa, I feel that the reservations I've had about him for the past several years have somewhat been validated, right? I mean, he can perform really well when he's healthy and when it's 75 plus degrees outside. There's not enough of those scenarios for him. So I actually I'm not going to take sides here between Tua and McDaniel because I kind of feel like at some point within the next couple of years, probably sooner for the coach, but the next couple of years with the quarterback, we've got to move on from both of them. Like that's where I'm at. So I don't want I don't want the organization to take sides to hitch their wagon to one or the other because I think within the next couple of years the Dolphins need to move on from both.
Well, I think most people agree with you, and I am gonna throw some caveats in with my view here because I was a Tua guy, but it's because I saw what he could look like when things were relatively perfect, not with an offensive line perspective, but when things were kind of catered to him in a certain way. I think he's regressed. So I know this it comes off a little cheesy on my part because I'm like, well, now I see what others see. I don't necessarily believe that what's happening now is what was happening 2 years ago. I don't think he's quite the same player. I think that, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but cognitively, he does not look the same. Like he doesn't seem to process as quickly as he did before. He's missed open receivers consistently. Now, some of that may not be physiological. Some of that may be a product of being afraid that you're going to get your ass kicked on a regular basis behind an offensive line that's starting a couple of guards who right now are not NFL players. I mean, and this gets back to our concerns about Chris Greer and the depth in the offensive line, all this. They've all contributed to this. By the way, they're not the first organization that's done this. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts literally drove a generational prospect out of football, okay, and Andrew Luck. And honestly, the same thing's kind of happening in Cincinnati right now with Joe Burrow. This is not right. So this is not just a Dolphin problem, but it is a Dolphin problem. And it's been a Dolphin problem for a period of time. And now I think what's happening is there's a little bit of I told you so from the anti-Tua folks. But if I was judging it off this Tua 2 years ago, I would have said the same thing. I don't think this is the same Tua. And I think as a result of that, they need to figure out what the next step is going to be. And I think they know. Like I think that upper management, I'm not going to speak for them, but they have to see it. You don't go into a game with Tua now and say he's going to light someone up for 350 and he's going to make all the plays in the fourth quarter. You remember the Baltimore game when they were down 3 touchdowns and he came back on the board? That guy I think is gone. I don't think he's there anymore. And if he's not there anymore and you don't have the mobility, then Alex, I think that's where we're at. And then it does become about, do you give Mike a chance with the next guy? But who's the damn next guy? Like
I know
there isn't
not a great candidate. Yeah,
no.
I mean, you're gonna have to get a little luck. Like you're gonna have to hope that a crop of quarterbacks that I don't think, like the word you use, generational. I don't think there's a generational quarterback in the draft in 2026. So if you do go that route, you better hope you get a little lucky. You better hope you've got the right coaching staff to develop whoever that quarterback is. And you also better hope you have an offensive line that can protect that quarterback, which they don't currently have.
Right. And you have to hope, and for that, you have to hope big time development from a couple of the players that they've drafted. Patrick Paul hasn't been the problem, but again, he's not on to his blind side. They've had the injuries on the other side. The guards have been awful. The receivers are too damn small. And they don't commit to the running game. I still think the best bet for this offense, and it's going to take till about week 7, I think, and it's going to be way too late till they figure it out, is just give the damn ball to Ollie Gordon III. Okay. and try to generate what you can consistently behind that line, and use Devon Achane as kind of a Swiss Army knife in a whole bunch of different ways. I I think that's their best bet. They have no tight end threat. Greer completely bungled that situation in all ways. So Tua has no security blanket. This is not going to get consistently better. I'll let you close on this one. Would you get, if there was a quarterback candidate out there? And again, I think you're more looking at somebody who maybe, like, I don't want to, don't hold me to this name, but like an Anthony Richards, like somebody who, was drafted high but hasn't worked out somewhere else. And again, I don't think Zach Wilson's that guy. But let's say there's somebody else out there. Would you give Mike a year or two at this point? It sounds like you wouldn't. Like it's over with him and Tua both out the door.
I don't think there's any. I mean, unless the Dolphins win their next 14 games, and I mean, something like that. If you win like 12 of your next 14 games, you get into the playoffs, and like we just forget about this 0-3 start. But if I'm assuming things are not going to get dramatically better for the rest of the year, if anything, I think the hiring of McDaniel has been exposed in the first place. I mean, nobody else gave this guy even a head coaching interview. Now that could be a bigger narrative that sometimes NFL owners, they have their issues, and it's a club. There's a lot of retreads and stuff. So maybe you could say he wasn't given fair opportunities by other organizations. But I mean, the Dolphins are the only organization that saw this guy as a head coach. And I think the meatheads were right about him, right? Because whenever he got hired, and I was talking with former Dolphin players whose, names I won't specifically mention, that were like, I don't think that guy's head coach. That's not the way this sport has been run for the past 40, 50 years. Yeah. And I kind of feel like that has been validated with the way that this Dolphins culture has been. So I'd like to move on from Mike. I'd like to eventually move on from Tua for all the reasons you stated and I stated earlier. And, if it's even possible, I'd like to move on with a new general manager as well, if that's in the cards.
There ain't no moving on there. You know that. It's GM for life. Yeah. GM for life. Donno, appreciate it. Use the code 5, FIVE at Prize Picks. Dolphins, big week next week, so we'll cover all of it. We've got Heat Media Day on Monday. Panthers getting closer to opening here. The Canes, of course, that'll be FSU week, and which is probably the biggest deal. And then also the Dolphins will be losing to the Jets, we think, maybe. I don't know. Anyway. Use code 5, FIV at Prize Picks. Have a good day, everybody.
See ya.